So, guys, we just finished watching the Chinese Grand Prix here. Honestly, kind of a slow race.
Yeah,
They
very
ended
slow.
up tire saving most of the time, so it wasn't
Yeah.
the most interesting thing.
Yeah.
But I guess, what's your reaction? Now on to your second race.
Second race
Um,
ever.
Yeah. So,
This one was really boring.
yeah,
This one was so boring. Like I almost passed out on the
fair.
couch. I'm not even
Fair.
gonna lie. Because like like you said, they were just saving on tires, so they were just going and going, and I was
Yeah.
like, all right, this is
No
is
one was
very
really
dry.
fighting for anything.
Yeah,
They're all just like 4 seconds apart.
exactly.
We had a few battles a little lower in the points. We had Hadjar trying to come back through after their last pit stop,
Yeah.
which Doohan ended up getting a penalty for.
True.
For forcing him off the road. But apart from that, there wasn't a ton of fighting going on. Ali Behrman was doing some nice passes too, which was pretty cool to see.
Facts.
So far, I guess, out of the rookies,
Yeah.
who do you like? What's
The,
your thought on who's been doing well?
The guy from Mercedes, he was 10th, right?
Kimi Antonelli.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
finished 8th.
He finished 8th.
He
okay.
started 8th. He finished 8th.
Yeah, he was good. Is Bear? Is he also a rookie?
Ali Behrman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is a rookie.
Yeah.
Okay. And then he was the one who was passing a bunch of people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he looks solid.
No, I think honestly those are probably the two better looking ones.
Yeah.
But Hadjar looks good too for
True.
Racing Bulls. He ended
Who's
up
that?
beating Yuki.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he's Yuki's teammate.
Yeah.
He ended up beating Yuki because Yuki had his front wing fail late in the race there.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate for him. It was just caused by like the air coming off another
Yeah.
car and it vibrated too much and just kind of like
Damn.
fell apart.
That's wild.
Which will be interesting to see if that's something we have to like keep watching out for here over the next few races. If that's going to continue to be a problem
Yeah,
for
that's
him.
the thing. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, right at the start, we had Lando in third, Oscar in first, and
Yep.
George in second. And Lando was able to sweep around the outside, get right into second place, which is awesome because we want McLaren to win. We want a Lando championship here, which he was actually able to extend his championship lead over everyone except for Oscar, which is nice too. So still first in the championship. And then, Lewis and Charles were behind, and they just kind of stuck together.
Yeah.
We were expecting Ferrari to be a little more competitive this year.
Yeah.
But it kind of seems like they're stuck down in 5th and 6th, probably the third fastest car, at least over the first 2 weekends.
Would you say
which is-
right now it's like McLaren, Mercedes, and then Ferrari, right?
Yeah, and then Red Bull is a giant question mark based
Right.
around Max is
Max.
going to be fast.
Yeah, facts.
But I don't know if their car is actually that
Facts.
fast.
True.
But Max was behind him for most of the race this time
Yeah.
until right at the end when he stopped tire saving and at that point was able to catch up and kind of picked off Lewis and then Charles and came home fourth.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. We got to see if Ferrari can kind of turn that around here
Facts.
going through. And hopefully they can because, we want to see a good fight up front. But right now, McLaren got a ton of points in the championship there just for being able to be 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So they're starting to extend that lead, at least while they have the top car in this advantage.
Facts. Facts.
And they were kind of talking about this throughout the weekend too, but I don't think China totally suited them. So next we have Japan, Suzuka. Pretty cool circuit. I don't know if you've ever seen what it looks like, but it's a cool figure 8, and there's a bridge in the middle that they cross back over on.
Sick.
One of my favorite tracks.
I feel like I've played it in a game before.
You might have. You might have.
I feel like that's like
It's in a lot of racing games.
True,
If you
okay.
did a racing game that has actual tracks.
yeah.
So I really like that track. I think McLaren will be a little further ahead there.
True.
I think their car is going to like it. It's a lot of high-speed sweeping corners.
True.
And so I plan to see them way ahead at the next race too. We have a week off, I think, until the next one. It's not until into April.
True.
But yeah, that should be exciting. Other stuff that happened, we had Lawson again start right at the bottom, 20th place from the pit lane. And wasn't really able to move forward at all.
Yeah.
Just kind of sat out there doing laps. And unfortunately for him, I think that might be kind of, Red Bull doesn't like to keep around drivers who can't keep up, and Perez wasn't doing great, but he wasn't coming in like 20th.
Last, yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see, I guess, how long Red Bull wants to put up with that. If they'll try to change the car, because right now it just looks like Max has a car that he can drive and no one else can drive it. No one else can seem to do what they need to do to get that car working.
Facts.
So I think it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully we can see him get a little bit better here, get a little more comfortable as we go through a few more races. But I think there's a timer counting down for how long he's going to be around and how much he's going to have to do in Red Bull racing.
Right.
And, going off of that, then the question is who else goes up? Do
Yeah,
they
who
take
they
Yuki or do they take Hadjar?
Facts.
I mean, they had the chance to promote Yuki this past offseason, and they picked Lawson instead of him. So it'll be interesting to see if they kind of want to keep doing that and say, Yuki, you're not going to get into Red Bull here, or if they'll call him up and be like, here's a shot, let's see if he's any faster. But yeah, that Red Bull car can just not be driven by anyone else. Max is just like, it's how I like it, and
that's why
he's the only one who's fast in it. And then, I guess Mercedes look to be pretty fast. I think at some point right now there is a little bit of a gap between Kimi and George.
Yeah.
But I think at some point Kimi's going to start to close that up and catch up, and then we'll probably have like McLaren 1-2, McLaren 1-2, Mercedes 3-4.
Yeah.
So hopefully that comes up, and maybe Mercedes will even be able to challenge for a few wins here. We'll have to see what happens. But George has 2 podiums through the first 2 races, which is pretty good for him. And keeping him close in the championship fight too. He's not a ton away, and one DNF right now at this point could still flip everything on its head.
Dang, facts.
We also, I haven't looked at the weather, but Japan might be another wet race. So there might be more chaos.
True.
It likes to rain in Japan, and we're going there in spring. So
rain season.
Yeah, there's a big chance there's rain there. I don't know what the weekend's looking like right now, but it was really rainy the last year they were there. So.
True. Dang.
And that's an interesting track when it rains too, because it's just
the ace figure 8.
It's tough, yeah.
Dang.
It's just a tough track. I mean, all of them are tough to drive on when it's wet, but it'll be interesting to see if any of the rookies, if it is wet, can do a little better there, because I think we had all but Kimi Antonelli go out crashing in Australia.
Yeah, facts.
So we'll have to see if they're able to bring anything up. We don't really have predictions for this weekend for you guys. We were a little behind earlier this week, so we didn't get up to getting that done before qualifying and everything.
Yeah.
But this was also your first sprint weekend that you watched. So I guess, what did you think of the little sprint race?
The sprint was sick. I mean, sprint was cool in that, I guess it was cool in that it was just like a quick watch.
Yeah.
So you just saw him just go super quick, super fast and finish it. But yeah, at the same time, there wasn't really much action.
Yeah.
It was kind of like the race, but just shorter.
And that's kind of down to the tracks, too, and track conditions when they race. We should see more competitive stuff as we get through the season here. There are definitely tracks that are more like overtake possible.
Yeah.
Not even wider, it's just... So what ends up limiting cars is when you come out of a turn that's high speed onto a straight. You can't be super close to the car in front, or you'll lose all your downforce and you won't be able to go through the corner.
True.
So they need to be corners that you can like come out of right behind the other car without having to back off, so you don't slide wide and go off the track.
Facts.
But at tracks where we do have those high-speed corners coming out, it tends to spread them out just enough before the straight that it's hard to overtake.
True.
And so that was in Australia. They go through that last corner at kind of high speed, but the wall's right there, so guys probably aren't trying to risk it around that one too much. We did have a decent amount of overtaking there, but the rain also kind of holds that off, because you start to get that dry line where everyone runs. And then you don't want to go onto the wet stuff to pass.
Facts.
But this week, it's much more like, they come out of that back corner onto that super long straight, and that's a high-speed corner. You're flat out all the way through it.
True.
And then you do have the hairpin, but then you have another left-hander going onto the main straight, and guys usually have to spread out a little bit for that left-hander going back.
True.
But I do think there will be more competitive races, I think, coming up too.
Facts.
We'll get into some of the newer tracks too. I think so. I'm actually not sure what's after Japan, but when we get to like Miami and stuff, I think Miami will be pretty interesting this year. There's not usually a ton of passing there, but I think there was actually a decent amount last year. But it's a street track down at the Hard Rock Stadium.
Oh, sick. Yeah.
So they like built a track through the parking lot, and
Facts,
that's a cool race to see.
Yeah.
But I think that'll be an interesting one this year. This was where Lando won his first race last season.
True.
But yeah, I thought, it's a good race, good win for McLaren. Keep building the championship.
Yeah. Put points on the board.
Exactly. And that's all you got to do, especially when you have the fast car. You just can't fall short. You got to keep making sure you're gaining points every race, every weekend that you race.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited for the season. It looks like it might be an Oscar-Lando championship fight, which could play out pretty cool. Lando does still have that lead because Oscar spun out in the race last week and ended up finishing with only 2 points.
Yeah.
But he did get a bunch back well, I don't know about a bunch. He got some back in the sprint race. Yeah. This week. And to be fair, too, I think with the sprint configuration, you only get that one practice session before sprint qualifying.
Yeah.
And I think McLaren could have done a little more to set up their car if they had some more practice.
True.
So in Japan, we might see them be stronger, too, just from being able to have those extra practice sessions and make sure the car's right before you go into qualifying.
Yeah, just tune it more.
Because that's another thing about the sprint races that you'll see kind of shake up sprint weekends is they only have one practice session.
True.
So they have less time to figure out how the car wants to be, how it's going to behave, and then make changes to make it as fast as they can.
Facts.
So, just another thing that kind of plays into there and changes what's going to happen for that weekend.
Dang. That's sick.
But yeah, I mean, pretty boring race this weekend, but worked out well. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that happened that was interesting. We had the Saubers way off the back again. I mean, it looked after Australia like they might be coming back a little bit, but they were I think they finished like a half a minute behind everyone else. Apparently Bortoleto had some damage on the front of his car, but even Hulkenberg was, I think, 25 seconds off the back of the pack. So they're going to have to do some work, and they're supposed to be Audi next year.
Oh, true.
So they really got to get going to hopefully make it up to a point where Audi can be competent, or it's not going to work out well next year for them either.
Yeah, facts.
But yeah, we'll have to see where that goes. It was just a interesting race that ended up being pretty boring, but you got any final thoughts about how you're feeling 2 races into the season?
So the Australian one was sick, that's for sure. This one kind of put me to sleep.
Yeah.
So that's
they aren't all bangers. They aren't all the best races in the world, but hopefully we get a little more competitive here.
Yeah.
Aside from McLaren winning, McLaren can stay 1-2. Everyone else can fight.
Yeah, facts.
But yeah, we'll catch you guys after Japan, and actually we'll have predictions up for Japan too. We'll make sure we get them done early this time. We won't let things get in their way. So until then, catch you later.
Nose.